Hello, and welcome to this Material Handling and Logistics webinar. How does automation build efficiency in cold storage operations? It's sponsored by Movu Robotics and KPI Solutions. I'm Dave Blanchard. I'm the Editor-in-Chief of MHNL, and I'll be the moderator for today's webinar. But before we begin, let me briefly explain how you can participate in today's presentation. So first, if at any time you're having audio difficulties, or if the slides don't seem to be advancing, just hit your F5 key to refresh your webcast console. A note, if you are running pop-up blocking software, you will need to disable it to view this webinar. Now, if you have any other technical difficulties during today's session, please press the question mark help button that's in the upper right corner to receive assistance in solving common issues. Now, this webinar technology will also allow you to resize the presentation. To do that, just click the maximize icon in the upper right corner to enlarge the window. We welcome your questions during today's event. So to submit a question, simply type your question into the Ask a Question window on the left side of your screen, and then hit the Submit button. We'll be answering as many questions as possible during the Q&A session that will follow the main presentation. But please feel free to send in your questions and we'll add them to the queue. And don't forget to check out the Resources tab on your console for additional information provided by our sponsors, Movu Robotics and KPI Solutions. Please also be aware that today's session is being recorded and it will be available on the MHNL website within the next day for you to review. We'll notify you by email as soon as that archive is available. When this webinar ends, please take a short moment to complete the feedback form that will appear on your screen. Okay, and that's my housekeeping tips. Let me now introduce our two speakers. First, we have Nate Richter. Nate is president of Movu Robotics US. With a strong background in robotics and industrial automation, Nate is dedicated to driving technological advancements that optimize operational performance. Under his leadership, Movu Robotics US continues to expand its industry footprint, offering technologies that help businesses streamline their logistics and meet the demands of a rapidly evolving market. Joining Nate is Richard Koistra, Senior Vice President with KPI Solutions. Bringing 30 years of experience in logistics and supply chain optimization, warehouse automation, and systems integration to his role at KPI Solutions, Richard consults with clients to elevate their warehouse operations, evaluates the benefit of materials handling and robotics, and creates return on investment analysis. If you want to learn even more about our speakers, just check out the Speaker Details tab on your event console. One more quick note before we begin. Part of the presentation that you're listening to has been previously recorded by our speakers, but Nate and Richard are joining us for a live Q&A following the presentation. So submit your questions as they occur to you, and we'll get to as many questions following the presentation video as we can. And with that, I'm now going to step aside. So Richard, the floor is now yours.
Thank you so much for the introduction, David, and I'm very honored to be here today. I've been in the material handling business industry since 1990, having had various different positions, starting out as a junior sales trainee, being a product manager, program manager, sales trainer. And then just before joining KPI, I was an owner at Twin Load Automation and have been with KPI for the last year or so, or just over a year. And I've been specifically in automation for the last 15 years or so. And I hope that we're able to express some of our industry knowledge and that you'll be able to get some value out of our discussion today. Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one today. So yeah, intro was fantastic. Thank you, David. I'm a mechanical engineer from undergrad, but then I got an MBA to kind of round out those rough edges that you get in a technical trade. So I love diving into the technical details, but I also understand the business reasons behind all the automation that we'll be discussing today. So a quick look at that agenda. So we'll do quick introductions of each of our companies, do a deeper dive for those who aren't familiar. Then we're going to discuss the warehousing industry from a macro level, but then introduce some very tactical strategies around ROI and the nuance that cold chain requires. We'll wrap up with a couple case studies and examples of solutions we've delivered and hopefully generate some questions along the way that we can address in the Q&A session at the very end. So diving right into Movu Robotics, we are an automation OEM headquartered in Belgium with a growing presence in the US. We offer a full portfolio of technologies. We're vertically integrated with our internal racking manufacturing within the Stow Group. And what do? We provide specialized solutions that are fit to the customer and the end user's application, but using standardized components. It's very easy, very plug and play, and we'll dive into some of those details now. So our warehouse solutions are flexible. They're integrated with existing operations or software. They're scalable, so we can introduce the technology today. It can grow with your operation through tomorrow, and as your forecast grows and develops. We've built market-leading and integrated software that seamlessly plugs into the WMSs of the world. We make our automation more accessible because we truly want every warehouse to be more productive, more efficient, more successful with our automation. So I mentioned that Movu is a part of the Stow Group. Stow's been around for over 40 years, doing storage solutions from static racking, mobile racking, semi-autonomous shuttles. And the birth of Movu Robotics was just the entrepreneurial what-if spirit that Stow has always had. You know, we developed from the semi-autonomous shuttles into our two-way or multi-directional shuttles. We've added AMRs to our portfolios, bin shuttles, and bin picking robots, because the customers have been asking for it. Our Movu's ability to scale up has been enabled by Stow. What that does provide is a base of strength and financial stability, and we're able to get aggressive and provide the customers what they truly do want. Couple quick stats. We have over 2,200 employees, over 20 different offices, and again, Europe and across the US, over 250 partners, distributors worldwide. And we do have 10 factories in both of those, Stow and Movu, there in Europe. Richard?
Yes, and so just a little bit now about KPI Solutions. KPI has been around for just under 3 years now, but it was an amalgamation of 3 companies at the outset. And we are headquartered in Belton, Missouri, and we've got offices throughout the United States. And we are a consulting and integration company where we really don't manufacture any specific pieces of equipment. However, we'll get into, in a little bit, we'll get more into what we do offer as our product. But we provide end-to-end services to our clients where we design our solutions, we develop them, and we maintain those solutions. So we really want to be end-to-end where we're developing relationships and partners with our clients. And we, in this short time that we have been with the amalgamation of all these companies, we've been able to grow to over $400 million in revenue in such a short time. And that's really a testament to all of our employees who we have. And we are very excited about where our future is going. We've got more than 400 team members right now. We're still looking for a few more right now because of our growth. And we are proud that about 80% of our revenue comes from our existing and repeat clients. And so therefore, that's why it's very important that we maintain our solutions in regards to what we are proposing to our customers. And so at the, as I was mentioning, we have a lot of people that it takes in order to be able to design solutions. We do a lot of supply chain consulting. And basically what we do is we meet with our clients and we ask them in order to be able to tell us in regards to where they're going, what kind of issues, what kind of problems in regards to what are they having. And we also ask them for a lot of their data in regards to how their business is operating. We then use that data along with the objectives in regards to what the client has been telling us where they want to go. We then do probably 2 or 3 different concept developments. We meet with the client. We go through the different types of solutions in regards to what we've developed. We hash things back and forth. And then we then agree in regards to what their next step would be. And then we talk about warehouse software and how we integrate that together, because that's a very, very important element. And I'm going to get into that as well in just a little bit. But another big portion and where we have a lot of our people working is in lifetime services. And that is where we have our parts and our service technicians. And we provide various different programs for our clients in order to ensure that their systems are up and running and doing in regards to what it was intended to do. Now, what is the difference in regards to what makes us different? And that I was just on the next slide here is that everything in regards to what we do, it's all being driven by data. And it's working with the client, making sure that we do the material flow diagram. We take the different pieces and the different elements in regards to the operational processes that what we are looking at within their business. And then we then look at what kind of technology that we can implement. And we are very agnostic as it relates to who and what would be the best for our client. So what we do is we search worldwide in regards to what we believe would be the ultimate solution for our client. And basically, you could have multiple different solutions and technologies and equipment providers that are going to make up the entire solution. And therefore, it is up to us, the integrator, to ensure that the system is going to be there for the client at the end, and it's going to operate to the objectives. Now, the other portion in regards to what I was discussing was what is our secret sauce? Who is KPI? Other than we're talking about working with our all of our experts, that what we have, but we have about 100, over 100 people working within our software group, and our product that we take to market is called Opto. And basically, it's a WES, which works in between the control system between the WMS or the ERP and the equipment controls. And so therefore, what we do is we ensure that we can get optimal performance out of all of the different elements of the system that is going to be installed in the facility to ensure that the optimal performances that are coming out of the system. And Opto, what we do is we pretty much do a lot of the functional requirements. We do that ahead of time. We work with the different equipment manufacturers, and we then try to do a lot of plug and play, as what Nate was talking, so that when we're going to go to site, we're not spending a lot of time at the job site. So Nate, then what I'll do is I'll pass it back off to you again.
That sounds great. So now we're going to take a look at the global market from a macro level, identifying where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. And unless you've been sleeping for the past few years, I mean, spoiler alert, it's all up and to the right. We've all been very busy. Then after we take a look at the global level, we'll dive into the cold chain specifically. So obviously the trends here during, COVID, after COVID, everything's been quite busy. Things transformative by Amazon. But really the consumption and desire for instant gratification are core human traits now, and then that's not changing. So how does our supply chain have to respond to that? Our industry is seeing opportunities in both greenfield and brownfields, single distribution centers to multi-site programs. 3PLs are making investments that in the past haven't been funded due to contracting. So we've listed out a couple, demand drivers and reasons why investment into your supply chain should be important to you. And we acknowledge that each company is starting from a different point on their automation journey, which is key. And we'll touch on how to select technologies no matter where you are along that journey. But the problem really is how to start that journey into increased automation. And Richard's got some really key facts and kind of a really great way of thinking about that. So Richard, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah. So, and again, Nate, it's a great thing that what you're talking about, that, over the course of the last number of years, and again, I started in this industry many years ago, and to see how technology has evolved and advanced and how things have changed over the years is absolutely incredible. And not one solution is going to fit every client. And, what we need to do is we need to look and analyze and say, okay, hey, where is the customer on their evolution journey? Is this, how much capital is going to be required? How much is available? Okay, how much time do they have in order to deploy the actual the solution that we may be designing? Because if the client is required where they need to enter into the market and they need to build a building and they need to order equipment, et cetera, and they want to be within, let's say, from 8 months to a year, then that is going to change maybe some of the technology that what we may be talking about with the client. And so there's many different pieces of the element that what we also look at. And we can be, as I was indicating earlier, when we look at the material flow diagram and we look at the different pieces of what the customer is trying to achieve, and we find that there's one element where we will be able to really have some success in automation, where we know that the client is going to have a major benefit. Because again, what we're talking about here is trying to get the best cost-effective solution for the customer in the cold chain environment. And the cold environment is different than what an ambient environment is. And even whether or not there's a cooler and there's a freezer and the equipment is different and it reacts different within these environments. And so we have to be cognizant of that. And with Nate and him and I working on many different projects together, and with KPI, we recently were awarded a very large project with one of our clients, where they had 3 different temperature chambers, and they have 3 different systems. However, the technology base in each of them is the same, but how we wrap the other technologies around in order to achieve the consolidated goals of the client, it's pretty remarkable. And so what we can do as well is take some traditional means of warehousing and then apply some type of technology, and then and then utilize that together where we can then get a total cost of ownership that is what the client is looking for. And so now the other thing that we need to get into now next is what I was talking about at the beginning, and that is that that client is different. They've got different objectives in regards to what they want to be achieving. Okay. And so what we see a lot in today's environment is that the client is going to interview probably 2 or 3 different integrators. They're going to want to select a partner who they want to be able to trust, and they're going to because when they're going through this whole process, it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of energy, and so they want to make sure that they trust who that partner is going to be, that there's a cultural fit between senior management, middle management, and regards to the entire company. And I can't stress that enough in regards to how important it is, because the number of years that relationship is going to last is going to be a very long time. And so working together is paramount in order to ensure that as you're going on that evolution of looking and analyzing your objectives and looking at your operations and finding how you can do things better, and evaluating the different solutions and multiple different solutions, okay, and then coming up to the right business case where you need to ensure that the amount of money that is being invested by the client is going to be the right money spent. And Nate knows this from an example that what we worked on together is that we have sometimes the inclination in order to want to get the most advanced, the most automated solution that what we can provide. And then the client is working with us and then saying, okay, but these are my objectives. This is what I need to do. And yet, so we got to scale it back a bit and make sure that we are getting and hitting the bullseye in the center of making sure that the total cost of ownership is what the client is looking for. So go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, it's a great point to cover where, as you're walking through the journey here, not one technology is going to be, best for all applications, right? So Richard mentioned a couple of, applications and, recent successes where, automation's good here, not so good here. Maybe we do semi-automation. We've got a project in the cold chain where there's static racking, there's mobile racking, and there's fully automated shuttle. So it just totally depends on the customer's application. So it's super critical to really look at the data. And we've mentioned capital and business case a few times. And obviously if you're an end user listening in today, you're going to know your business better than we do. But we do want to shine some light on the common ROI variables that we do see as we have conversations with our customer base. So, some come to us wanting to reduce their reliance on labor. The unemployment rate's still 4.2% based on latest data, right? So, it's super skinny out there. So we're not necessarily displacing labor with our automation. We're just enabling operations to continue and grow without the same labor force. So it's super critical, and it's top of mind for a lot of businesses. Throughput, decreased order fulfillment time. This means that our solutions need to be faster. We need to be able to absorb or adapt to peak rates or spikes, all while maintaining accuracy at those elevated speeds. So we can't sacrifice quality. We can't sacrifice any of the things that come with your day-to-day operations during peak season. We just have to step up and perform at that higher level. Capacity is also interesting. Full network capacities or even individual distribution center capacities have increased. And this has been a trend I've noticed really since the pandemic, where, increased inventory levels have been, more readily available We're increasing pallet volume within a distribution center so that there is inventory to pull in to get to the consumers, so that we aren't caught flat-footed again. I think that was a lesson learned from several businesses. Increasing worker safety. So the labor that does remain in these DCs, warehousing is one of the highest non-fatal injury rates of any industry, which is astounding. But I mean, there are just that many people working in our distribution centers. So can we, automate the moving of material, make it a little bit easier on the operators, reduce those step counts, reduce the heavy lifting? Can we engineer out these types of risks to reduce that burden on the company? And from a service level perspective, I mean, gone are the days that we can publish a pick list during third shift and take care of it, next morning. We're too impatient as consumers, and so we're creating a need for these hyper dynamic warehousing operations, which are becoming more and more automated. So our technology needs to be able to address these needs. So now we're just time to grab the coats, because we're heading to the freezer now. And so I want to start with a couple of facts. 60% of food products need to be kept cold, and each year a third of that is lost or wasted, right? Which is just astounding from an efficiency standpoint. If we're thinking, operational utilization, this is incredibly wasteful. I mean, just from a simple metric. So this food production, along with the requirements from, pharmaceutical industries and things, need to stay cold and chilled. This is our why. These are our major demand drivers that we're going to talk about today. While the problem statement is so very simple, there are several challenges in this industry that are, make automation difficult to implement, make change management difficult, and sometimes those hurdles are quite tall. But if we can talk about these today, I'll kind of speak to them from the OEM or the equipment lens, and Richard will chime in on some pieces, representing the end users from a consultative and an integration standpoint. But we'll just kind of touch on some of these. But this is really the meat of if you take anything away, it'll be some of the points we talk about here. So some of the challenges that we see, several of these challenges are linked in a direct fashion, like temperature control, energy costs. So if you can improve on one of those, it can often have ripple effects that kind of multiply your benefit that you get from implementing and solving those challenges. So temperature consistency is something that's obviously very incredible. When we're talking about temperature sensitive goods, pharmaceutical or the safety of our food, obviously that's going to be paramount. So fluctuation's bad. So what we can do is we can provide very precise, dense storage, spacing of pallets, so that we can strategically place these even around some of the HVAC equipment, so the airflow is all considered, where we're letting all the cold air flow around the product, and not creating a lot of air that can be inefficient for HVAC systems. Energy costs, usually around 15% of operating expenses for a cold storage warehouse. So obviously, if we can provide less air, more product, just more efficiently from a product storage standpoint, then it'll help reduce those energy needs. Storage density, obviously, if we don't have a lot of aisles for manned traffic, then it can reduce the travel aisles. We can increase the storage density again over the same footprint or within the same volume. Several of these buildings even become rack supported buildings to minimize the footprint, because again, the slab's more expensive. All of the other cladding and the roofing is all much more expensive to be able to house the HVAC and the cooling systems. It's like every square foot of this solution is more expensive. So the smaller we can make the physical system, normally the better. Product accessibility. This is one that's sometimes inversely proportional to storage density, right? Where we want to be able to get the specific pallet that we want at any time. So you can either have that using single deep storage, or sometimes if you go deep lane storage, then you need to be able to pull out the specific one. You can dig for that using different shuttles. We like that our shuttles any shuttle can have access to any pallet within the system, within this 3D storage cube, being able to transfer to multiple levels, travel underneath existing pallets that are stored in the storage lanes. So it's really a unique way to address that challenge. again, labor shortage, it's about 45% of total cost, right? So if we can engineer out, the redundant labor or the non-value add labor, then that's normally a good sign for the ROI. Regulatory compliance. So this can be traceability within pharmaceutical and food, being able to do quality assurance on specific batches or lots, being able to pull specific pallets for inspection. Fire suppression is also one that's highly variable. This is depending on the owner's insurance, the local fire code, industry standards, which are changing all the time. So the solutions that we present and provide need to be able to be flexible to accommodate all of those different variables that are introduced during the execution phase of the project.
And if I can, Nate, can I just add one thing on that? Because that is it's such a big topic. And I think when you're talking, regulatory compliance and a lot of these operational challenges, et cetera, especially in cold, that there are definitely some organizations that are out there like the WFLO, like the GCCA, okay, and CEBA, okay, where you're going to be able to learn and they're going to be resources to you in your business in order to be able to understand what does FSMA mean, okay? What does that impact, me on my business? And many people may not even know what FSMA is, but it's what you talk about, Nate, that it's track and trace and the traceability throughout the supply chain, where and the reason why they're doing it is because there is so much more reliance on the cold chain in today's, because the consumer is demanding this. Okay. And that's the other little thing that, us as consumers, we use our phones, we use our computers, and we want to be able to order, and we're going to be able to do a lot of these things. But if there's ever an issue, that's why they need to be able to have this traceability. And the other little thing that what I wanted to mention too, in regards to what you just said, was that with the evolution of technology, what we're seeing is, in the past that it was mainly just pallet in, pallet out. Then it was, it was pallet and some layers and a few different pieces. And now we're seeing that the operational challenges is that the consumer is saying, hey, I would like to be able to have one of these, one of those, one of these, one of those, and I want to have it frozen, and I want to have it cool, and I want to have it ambient, and I want you to deliver it, and I want you to be there. So, but what we're seeing is that technology is meeting this, and we've just heard in the last couple of months that there's, some major technology that's been around for the last 15 years or so as it relates to, picking pieces, that they've now adapted their technology to be able to work in a freezer. I don't know of any applications yet where it's actually been installed, but I'm going to tell you, when I saw this, Nate, it was like, okay, this is where things are going, right? Okay, and somebody's listening, and this is really neat that now they've adapted that technology for it to be able to work. So that's going to, again, change. It could be a game changer, and then and other people are going to be able to follow. So sorry about jumping in there like that.
No, it's great. Yeah, and to your point, I think eventually we'll see humanoids going into picking cases off of pallets, right? I mean, maybe they wear a coat, maybe they don't, right? I mean, so it's coming for sure. Yeah. It's just a matter of time. So, but what's interesting is these technologies that we're discussing. What we've done is they can be done for brownfield, right? You've got an existing operation. I want to improve the density. Okay, so now we need to figure out how to get more pallets in the building because there's no room to expand physically on my lot, or we just can't make the business case for a whole new greenfield project. It may not make sense from a network, your distribution network perspective. So, being able to take a look at, what can I do from a brownfield? Can I squeeze in the technology within the existing space? What's my phased approach? Because if I've got an operating conventional warehouse, I've got to bring that down for some sort of time, bring up then the new automation. There's going to be some cutovers. There's some phasing that all needs to be discussed with The OEMs providing the technology, the integrator that's tying it all together with the software, with the existing operations team. I mean, it is a very complex challenge, but there's absolutely fruit of those labors and tackling those challenges. So it's definitely a very cool conversation to have. Any other points here, Richard, before we pivot to the next slide?
Well, yeah, I just like to looking at existing brownfield facilities that are oddly shaped. Well, we have a slide of one of our clients coming up a little bit later, but I think with the advent of technology and how we can get a big bang for the buck within the facility doesn't have to be perfectly rectangular or square or whatever. There are many different ways that we can look at using an existing facility and doing many different types of solutions based on what is there. And with all of the different technologies that are available around the world, that should not be something that would hold you back from especially investigating and looking.
Yeah, exactly right. So yeah, if we're looking at kind of the top benefits here, I mean, you're going to know your business the best, but right. So we're expanding capacity, we're increasing accuracy and precision through automation, hopefully reducing the cost and becoming more energy efficient with some of these implementations. If we're smart, we can increase the throughput, right? So we can do more with the same, more with less. We can be deploying automation to do the pallet storage and the transport within the facility, right? So there's all these different levers that we can pull. We can reduce our reliance on labor and improve the health and safety of those that do remain in the warehouse, because it is an absolutely challenging environment to work in, day out. So next here, we've got extensive experience, both separately and together, kind of working on these solutions in the cold chain. And we'll be able to walk through some of that here to kind of close out the presentation. So we've been talking about the pallet shuttle, and this is just a quick top-down view showing some of the technology specifications. But it's going to be able to handle any of your normal pallets up to 3,300 pounds. We can operate at negative 15 degrees Fahrenheit. The speeds and accelerations are listed here, but typically when I start getting involved with Richard, we're going to be talking through pallet throughput. What's my pallets per hour that the operations guys need? How quickly do I need to get those pallets out to the truck for the outbound side of the operation? So all of these variables are considered. Typically thrown in as inputs to a larger system simulation. If we're feeding downstream case depalletizing, case picking, these types of things, these are all material flows that get mapped out by the integrator, and we figure out what technology is needed, what's the fleet sizing look like as we develop this solution together. And luckily, shuttles don't need warming breaks. The batteries are actively heated. We use convenient opportunity charging so that that we've got seamless fleet stability with charging. We don't have to shut everything down. Everybody goes grabs a quick bit of juice and comes back and starts operating again. Our charges will last 8 to 10 hours in this space with only a 2-hour charge time. So it is very convenient. And the key really with our shuttles are, any shuttle can access any pallet at any time, right? So they can travel, vertically along vertical lifts, being able to bring material to and front, the back of the operations, inbounding, outbounding, bringing them forward for very quick hyper-reactive buffers and sequencers. Flexibility for today, scalable for tomorrow. And it takes a very, very robust piece of equipment to be able to survive in the cold chain. And then all of the magic happening from prioritization, pulling orders out and giving those tasks to the shuttle level. That's where the Opta warehouse control system, that's where that magic really happens there. Optimizing the individual tasks before they get down to my shuttle level, maximizing the full system performance is really where that shines. The other piece is with our AMR. So this is the other piece of technology that is proven in the freezer space. And we actually have some technology that allows us to go into multiple temperature zones, which is very unique. because of the physics and condensation that happens during those temperature changes. So these autonomous mobile robots can be used for simple pallet transport, to and from different locations within the warehouse. They can also be used in a picking operation. So if we're doing case picking from pallets, you can use a single or even a tandem configuration where you have two of these vehicles going along the aisles with a single operator picking cases to one of those two pallets. So you can increase the throughput using your same workforce from that perspective, creating a positive step change in your operation without having to touch any of the racking even, right? You can just deploy these AMRs in a brownfield today and improve your operations tomorrow. So unique small step changes that you can take without totally overhauling what's on the inside of the storage cube. Same methodology, opportunity charging, so where we can go charge as we're waiting for the next task, so that again, the whole fleet is able to manage all of the tasks in an efficient manner. And now we'll briefly touch on a couple case studies that we've both seen, show you kind of what we've done and how we've done it.
Yes. So the first one that we wanted to talk about is Clairbout, which is a Movu client in France. It is a beautiful place to go visit. It's in the middle of the potato fields. And the interesting thing about going to see this site actually is because the client had three separate objectives in regards to what they wanted to accomplish. One was they had to deal with their storage of their wooden pallets that they were using for production. They also needed raw materials, storage of raw materials. And then they also wanted to have a buffer in regards to finished goods that because they had a very high throughput of trucks coming 24/7. And they didn't want to miss any of the throughput capacity challenges that what they had, and this allowed them to achieve 600 pallets an hour. It is quite something to see, actually, in order to see these 36 different shuttles moving about in the system and bringing the pallets from the frozen chamber right to the docks, and it's just in time where when the pallets come out, they're going directly right onto the trucks. And I know that I've been there. And I know that they're open for visitors, and that they would welcome anyone if you would like to see a very high-speed operation. And then the other challenges that they had with the dealing with the wooden pallets as well, and raw materials that you can go witness as well. And it's a really, really neat system in order to go see.
And then the next one that we can talk to is for a vegetable company called Westhoff Bio. They're in Hamburg, Germany. Brand new facility. Kind of interesting. The pallet volume isn't as high as some of the others that we've done. This one is a rack-supported building. Sometimes you don't normally see rack-supported until you're getting into tens of thousands of pallets. But again, footprint was a constraint, right? So there's nowhere to grow out. You got to go up. So, our technology enabled that particular decision. This is one of the first that we've been able to actually feed pallets into a blast freezer. So that, that's the first material flow. We get some pallets, we get them into the blast freezer. The shuttle does not stay in that particular zone of the freezer. That's too cold for the shuttles to live in. But then we are able to then, once the blast freezing process is done, able to bring those pallets back out into the deep lane storage that we have in the rest of the facility. So definitely kind of a cool dual temperature zone that still is enabled by the shuttle being able to access, again, any pallet within the storage block. Not quite as fast as Clairbout, but still 60 in, 60 out. That's a decent system with only 6 shuttles. And we're able to go 57 feet or about 10 meters high. So definitely a very unique operation. We wanted to highlight the blast freezing capabilities that we've been proven with our shuttles as well. So in closing, what we wanted to tease are some of the challenges, but also opportunities. So we want you to be thinking about your operations today and then where you could be tomorrow, utilizing some of these ideas, right? So the technology selection doesn't have to be a one size fits all. We've touched on that a few times. Let the data provide the answers to some of these questions. Be bold in your predictions and your forecast, but be accurate with the data that you are using to calculate your fleet sizes and your technology selections. You can utilize each technology, put it in a sweet spot, because that's where it's going to be most efficient. That's where the most value can be extracted from that technology. And the byproduct there can be the diversification of having, different technologies that can support your future product profile. So all these things intertwine. It's quite complex, but several benefits to be had. And easy and scalable, right? So we want to be scalable in multiple dimensions. We want to be able to add pallet volume to get more storage later after your business grows. With that increased pallet storage, your throughput might require more shuttles, right? So then the shuttles, we were able to quickly add those, and within a few hours commission each shuttle to be able to go out and deploy them into the new larger sandbox within the storage cube. So it's essential to right size it today, because then you're able to grow efficiently tomorrow. Richard?
Yes, and so automation is definitely ready for your cold storage situation. As we talked throughout this presentation, that technology is evolving. There's many different pieces and elements of automation that can be fit and scaled to your specific operation, whether it be AMRs, whether it be cranes in an ASRS, or whether it is pallet shuttles and manual shuttles, or the 3D shuttles in regards to what Movu supplies, or if it's layer picking or whatever it is, there is something that can definitely be of value in order to be able to help you run your cold storage operation more efficiently. And as you're doing that, again, the last point here is that, you need to find someone who you trust in regards to where you're going. And we believe that with KPI and Movu, we'll be able to hold your hand all the way through, looking at your operation, looking at your existing operation, understanding where you are, what your needs may be, and developing and concepting different solutions, and then going all the way through to implementing, and then being able to maintain, because this is a significant investment, and you want to be able to cost justify it over many, many years. And we'd be more than happy in order to be able to go along that journey with you. And in saying that, that brings us to the conclusion of our presentation today. We want to thank you on behalf of Nate and myself. We want to thank you very much. And we now are able to take some of your questions.
Thank you, Richard and Nate, for that great presentation. So a few of you have already submitted questions. If you would like to submit a question to either Nate or Richard, go ahead and do so. So we are going to jump right in. Let me just remind everybody, at the very end of the webinar, when we're all done, please take a short moment to complete the feedback form that will appear on your screen, and that will help us with all future webinars. Let me jump into these questions. First question. This could be to either or both of you. How do you approach the complexity of designing a system that has to deal with some variance when it comes to odd size shipments? In other words, non-standard pallet sizes.
Yeah, the easy solution to this one, it's a great question, is using a system board, right? That makes it that gives us a common denominator to work with, right? Which is key for automation. It makes everything standard, everything universal, so all the sensors know what to expect, and everything's just a little bit easier from that standpoint. We don't lose anything from the uniqueness because the WCS tracks the unique pallet identification. So all of that can be unique, but the physical size of the pallet, we want to create something a little bit standard for the shuttles to handle.
And then on top of that, Nate, what we would also do is that if you've got a lot of varying sizes of pallets, we would, and if we want to have a complete random access to the inventory, we would need to ensure that we take the largest size of that product and build the envelope towards that biggest size. That way we can put any pallet in any position, or depending if the odd sizes, depending on what percentages they are, and depending on how significant the size of the solution is, we could put some of the odd sizes on different varying levels. That way we wouldn't need to have the big envelope throughout the entire facility.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Another question has come in. Do you have examples of any projects in North America? The person is observing that they see everything coming from Europe in your presentation. Would you please explain why U.S. customers should go with other European shuttle manufacturers, or maybe some others in China, or what have you?
Yeah, I mean, as far as references, yeah, we do have, I think we got 16 projects ongoing right now, and a handful of them are live and are available for reference visits. So pending any conflicts there with the end user, we could absolutely host tours. Please reach out. And then there'll be more live here in Q4 of 2024. And so the list of the install base is growing and growing month by month here in the U.S. We obviously had to start our way by having people go over to Europe to see the headquarters and those tours over there because we weren't established here in the U.S. until 2 years ago. But we're rocking and rolling now. As far as the other shuttles, Richard, if you want to take that from the integrator side.
Yeah, and so we've got, from a KPI standpoint, through the legacy of the various companies that have been put together, we've got many different sites throughout North America where we could take to shuttle, or to go see a crane-based system, or to go see other semi-automated facilities. Yes, there are many located here in the United States that we could go see.
Okay, great, thanks. Next question. How do you deal with the regular calibration of temperature sensors and temperature mapping studies inside your system that are typically required in the domain of pharmaceutical and associated regulatory frameworks?
Yeah, so we would load up the system initially after we're commissioned. We want to load up any pallets or put any sensors into the system that'll be measuring, uniformity, top to bottom, left to right. So we support that from our side, but really the end user is driving that because they own the process. They've got the paperwork on the pharmaceutical deliverables. But we participate in IQ, OQ, PQ activities. It's just some of the deliverables that we have. So yeah, we can assist, but any of the studies or surveys are done by the end user typically.
Okay. Another question: is there a specific size of facility or freezer that is the minimum to see a payback for this technology?
Good question. So if we're adding capability, some of the blast freezing that we discussed for Westhoff Bio, there's only a few hundred pallets there, in addition to a larger storage block. If for fully automated systems, the smallest size we typically see are something around 2,000 pallets. But each business case is different. There could be an ROI for less than that. It just totally depends on the operation. But 2,000 is usually the smallest.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. That's about the smallest size that we have implemented as well.
Okay, thanks. And somebody wants to know, how long does it take to install these systems? How many months, for instance?
I'll take a stab at that one first, Nate. So that's we can talk about that for quite a while. But if we have a green field and we're going fully automated, generally you're looking at anywhere between 18 and 24 months, depending on how high the vertical is going to be and how large the system is going to be. So 18 to 24 from that vantage point. If we're doing an existing brownfield installation, generally we're looking at anywhere from 6 months to a year in order to go from concept to fully installation and commissioned.
I would agree.
Okay. Just a reminder to everybody out there in the audience, if they would like to ask a question of Nate and Richard, this is your chance. This might be the last question unless we have some more questions to come in, but let me see where it goes with this one. So are there any specific building requirements to install robots in the freezer? For example, floor leveling or fire safety?
Yeah. So our pallet shuttle systems are installed in our racking system, which is a little bit more flexible maybe than some of the others. You know, we're not grinding or pouring floors for rails. We're not having to pour a new slab for like an aluminum grid. You know, so we require FEM 9.831, which requires a quasi-rigid floor slab. You know, but we use adjustable foot pads and grouting, so it's going to be able to absorb some of the variability that we do see in just common floors. So we have certain depth requirements, flatness and levelness tolerances that are industrial norms. We don't require anything super specific. We don't require you to come in and grind your floor and polish it to a mirror finish. It's very forgiving from that standpoint. Fire safety, I think, was another part of that question.
Yes.
So obviously the end user really needs to consult their insurance company early, and also the local municipality where the site's going to be installed, because those vary from zip code to zip code, right? So from my point of view, my opinion is always going to be to use a less intrusive, oxygen reduction system versus having to worry about sprinklers that are mounted up inside of the rack. But sometimes it's unavoidable. So we can provide different pallet spacing that's required by the fire protection engineer. We can add vertical spacing to allow the sprinklers to be mounted into our racking system. Every system is different from that standpoint. So it's worth to get the conversation started early in your system design so that we can make sure that we, protect the space for it. Because the last thing you want to do is to have, your ROI built around a system, but then you have to add sprinklers after the fact and you lose, pallet storage, and then it doesn't make sense from a business standpoint. So let's say get the fire people in early and often.
Okay, and this will have to be our last question because we're right up close to the top of the hour. Given North America's competitive landscape for warehouse automation solutions, how does Movu manage their transition from Europe to North America and set themselves apart?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. Obviously, the first thing we need to do are check the boxes for industrial and safety standards, right? That's first and foremost. So what we've done is we went and got our rack RMI certified, and there's even now a secondary standard that we've gotten recertified to. And then the automation needs to follow, applicable automation standards, UL certification, these types of things, so that we can, so it's legal to sell product here, right? So that's the first thing, and not all imported product can necessarily claim that. So it's worth a little bit of homework. Our technology must solve the problem that are arise in the market areas, right? So we have some very similar issues that here in the U.S. that we have over in Europe. Obviously, we have a little bit more land to work with, but the demand for our shuttles is definitely there. Shuttles and AMRs in the cold chain, it's really becoming very, very popular. because there's not many alternatives of technologies or equipment that can survive in this environment. And we've been operating our semi-autonomous shuttles since 2012, the Movu shuttles since 2019. We've got dozens of reference sites and over thousands of shuttles in the field. So we've got the history and we've got the install base, and we'd be happy to show you. So that's kind of what sets us above some of the other competitors coming into the space.
Okay, thanks, Nate.
Mm-hmm.
We are out of time. A few more of you have submitted questions. All the questions that you've submitted will be forwarded to Nate and Richard, and they'll be able to follow up with you offline. So let me first wrap up by thanking Nate Richter and Richard Koistra for their great presentation and for this terrific Q&A. I'd also like to thank our sponsors, Movu Robotics and KPI Solutions, and of course, thanks to you in the audience for your attention and for your questions. As a quick reminder, before you go, please take a moment to complete the feedback form that will appear on your screen at the end of the web chat. On behalf of Material Handling and Logistics, I'm Dave Blanchard. Have a productive remainder of your day and take care. And thanks, Nate and Richard.
Thanks, guys. That was fun.